Hello everyone, my name is Jordi, Imperator at Agic Entertainment now, and today I'm going to show you what we've been cooking up for we who are about to die with our next major update, Blood and Sand. So for Blood and Sand, we had a few goals. Number one was to overhaul the combat and get it up to the standard where it's almost 1.0 level. In the end, I did a massive animation-based overhaul and a physics overhaul as well, and the combat itself has been expanded in numerous ways. And that is the blood. The second goal was to add Sandbox. That's what the sand is about. And our third goal was to address all the major feedback that we've gotten over the years and sort of fix all the weakest parts of the game. We redesigned the attack UI from scratch into this better intuitive version. It's also context sensitive, shows only possible attacks. So let's have a look at some of the many animation changes. First of all, both the idle pose and the combat pose have been cleaned up and improved a bit. Looking around, up and down especially, has been improved a lot. I fixed the look at of the head so that characters now actually look at each other, which is surprisingly effective. But most importantly, many of the attack animations have been tweaked so that they are more distinct in the ready pose like this. The biggest change that you'll notice when attacking is that you now use your entire lower body as well. So now the character actually turns into their strike. This is even more pronounced on two-handers. These are one-handed swings from the previous version of the game. And compare that to what it looks like now. And here we have some two-handed swings from the previous version and the much better new iteration. An interesting implication of this turning into a strike, which makes it go way faster, is that when you're moving, you actually do less of that turn. So there's a reason now to plant your feet and stand still when you strike, because it's physics-based, it does more damage. Essentially, we've accidentally added heavy attacks. The big new thing is that there are way better hit reactions. Take a look at this before and after. It shows it better than I can explain. These are the old hit reactions, just a physics impulse, which is obviously not great. In the new system, the characters have a dynamic turning and reaction based on where the strike was coming from. And on top of that, I'm layering in the arms, which are dynamically balancing based on what's going on and how they are being knocked around. So now when you strike someone, it feels way more satisfying, more weighty, and incredibly juicy. Another major improvement is the stamina effect. See that I'm now really visibly breathing, and I slowly recover my stamina until I am calm again. In the previous version, when a character is tired, you would simply just see nothing going on their body, except when they're attacking, which is when they would go super floppy and really awkward, player included. Now we have this breathing animation, which is again completely dynamic, and the physics and animation state for low stamina has been made so that it's more controllable. You can still clearly see that you're tired. It definitely still affects combat and damage output, but it looks better and most importantly feels much better. For the first time now, you can also really clearly see when an enemy is super tired. Now with some weapons, you can now do weapon switching. So you can see the UI at the bottom of the screen there. When I press G, I'm going to go between polearm mode and spear mode. If I somehow lose or drop my shield, change it back into a spear and keep on stabbing. Onto the polearms, which have seen a pretty big overhaul. First of all, every polearm has seen some stat changes and has more range. And the biggest change is that we've replaced the very redundant left-sided knockback attacks and changed them into 3 separate stabs. These are brand new attack animations. One is a stab from the left, one from up, and one from down. And I've also drastically improved the other swinging strikes. Polearms are really a completely new force to be reckoned with. Of course, in this update, we've also added a bunch of new polearms to go with it. Blood and Sand overhauls all the effects in the game as well. We've gone over most particle effects in the game and made them look better and also be more performant at the same time. Every combat-related particle effect especially has been given a layer of polish, or outright a redo in some cases. And it doesn't end there. We've gone over sound effects, footsteps, all kinds of stuff to make the game feel better and juicier. A good example would be splinters of a shield. And shields now actually visibly show damage. Blood and Sand also has a bunch of less tangible features, such as a complete damage model overhaul and a vast improvement on the consistency of damage, as well as a bunch of big changes and fixes to things like knockbacks and so on, which sometimes just wouldn't work. It really is months of work and way too much to even remember, let alone sum up in this video. In this update is also a massive physics overhaul, which is much harder to show and explain the details of, but basically I have restructured completely from the ground up the entire character body physics. What you'll find now is that the game is much more stable. Things will generally just feel and look a little bit better. We'll still have crazy antics and crazy deaths and some glitches, of course. In this physics change, yet again, the proportions have improved quite a bit, and so now I think we're finally at the final iteration of the character proportions. And this time I've also updated the character in the career menu to reflect the same proportion changes.
You will intrinsically decide on the rules that the game is played by.
Sandbox mode allows you to essentially mod the game from inside the game. Sandbox appears where the difficulties are in the backstory screen, and you can see all the profiles that you've downloaded or created in this list. If you want to create a new profile though, you click on Sandbox Editor, create new, and then we have a ton of settings here. So these are all kinds of variables in the game which have extremely generous sliders, meaning that you can probably break the game, but that's on you. We just let you do it. Some examples are your HP max. You can start with 1000 HP or 50 or 1. You can disable the doctor. You can then make a run where you only get access to the enemies level up faster, or even disable permadeath. There's a backstory tab where you can disable backstory, override starting equipment, give yourself Skolo upgrades. And then there's items and traits tabs where you can disable any trait or any item in the game from showing up in the shop or character generation. And then you can save that to a profile and just play it whenever you want. And then on top of that, we've added Steam Workshop support. So you can take your profile then and upload it to Steam Workshop, and then other people can download and play your profile. You can also go on the Steam Workshop and just browse around and subscribe to other people's designs and play a run with those profiles and see what they're about. These are some profiles that people have already cooked up during the closed test. So some of these are pretty interesting. There are a lot of challenges, a lot of difficult ones. We could subscribe to this profile called This Run is Sick by Lino, the co-developer of the game. And then that should show up in the list right here. There are absolutely dozens of these settings, and the combinations are literally endless. There are more possible profiles than there are atoms in the universe.
We're close enough then to just call it infinite, you know?
Sandbox mode is something that I thought of many years ago, and I'm incredibly thrilled that it's finally here. And depending on how many people enjoy Sandbox, we might expand this even more. At one point we had a stupid idea that we should make shovel weapons since it's the Sandbox mode, but as responsible devs, of course, we decided to definitely do it. Making this feature was incredibly difficult. It's kind of risky. I haven't really seen anything like it. You know, I took a huge risk with this. I'm really curious if there's going to be a big adoption. In the closed test, it already went very well, but I can't wait to see what people come up with because it's probably going to blow my mind. Well, hopefully, we'll see. On the career side, we also focused on some of the weaker areas of the game. We've done a big betting redesign. There are now bets per match, and they're integrated into the match options instead of on the side as an afterthought. There are 3 bet options per match now, and bets are linked to the patron host of the match. Payout's better, and it pays out patron favor now, linking up with the next thing. Patrons have seen a large improvement. We wanted to make the choice of a patron way more relevant for a run and generally make the feature more clear. So all the patron UI has been redone, which explains the mechanics better and shows way more information. And to drive this home, there are 16 new patron events, some of them being very intricate, and a few of the positive events are especially designed so that you kind of snowball into the direction of a certain patron. Each patron now also has a special event called a festival. You can have 1 festival in an entire run. This is a week that then appears on your calendar in advance, and in that week the patron takes over, and I'm not going to spoil it here, you can find out for yourself. Next, in the past, you would get 1 million notifications after battle in all kinds of different windows. And now this has all been merged into one weekly report panel. Here you can see the calendar, You can see important notifications for that week and a brand new section which shows your rank and match levels to explain the mechanic in the game that if you rank up, all matches below your rank also rise with your player rank. The shop has seen a small expansion. There's now 8 shop slots instead of 6, and the UI has been adjusted and polished to fit this change. There are many more small tweaks and balancing changes to the career side of the game. Way too many to list. Of course, we've also added new weapons and armor again, with a small focus on polearms since we've done a big polearm overhaul. There's more to the update, but you can find out for yourself in-game. If you want to stay in the loop with what Ajic Entertainment is doing in the future, you can subscribe to our newsletter and you can join our Discord where we hold closed tests so you can play it even earlier. And you know, maybe in the not super far future, we might start talking about the next game because we have to start working on that at some point. And we'll probably share that with the Discord community way before it's kind of publicly out there. So if you want to have an influence or talk to us about what that next game might look like, that's also a pretty good reason to hang out in the Discord. Ajic is also hiring, by the way. If you happen to be a game developer or you know a game developer, especially in Europe, you can send them this link. And perhaps you can become a gladiator in the ranks of Ajic Entertainment. The game is 40% off right now, so please help us share the word. We still rely on word of mouth more than anything. And please check out Sandbox Mode. You can make some profiles, put them on the Steam Workshop, or subscribe to other people's profiles and see what they've been inventing. That's it for this video. Thank you yet again for playing, for sharing, for listening, for paying attention, and being interested in all the cool things that we're doing with this silly little gladiator game. One of those has to be good, right? Come on. I did that like 4 times. There's literally sand everywhere. Everywhere.